Most people don't realize how much of their life is shaped by the opinions of others until they feel stuck, frustrated, or exhausted from trying to be someone they're not. Caring what people think starts quietly. It shows up as hesitation, self-doubt, over-explaining, and constantly second-guessing your decisions. Over time, it turns into a cage. You stop saying what you mean, you stop pursuing what excites you, you start editing yourself to fit expectations that were never designed for your happiness. The truth is, no matter what you do, people will think something. If you succeed, you'll be judged. And if you fail, you'll be judged. If you stay the same, you'll be judged. The mistake isn't that people have opinions. The mistake is letting those opinions decide your direction. The moment you stop caring what people think is not the moment you become careless or selfish. It's the moment you become free. Freedom begins when you understand that most people are not thinking about you nearly as much as you imagine. They are thinking about themselves, their insecurities, their fears, and their own struggles. The voice you hear judging you is often your own, shaped by years of conditioning and comparison. Instead of asking, "What will they think?" start asking, "What will it cost me if I don't do this?" Because the real damage isn't in being misunderstood, it's in betraying yourself repeatedly. Every time you silence your truth to keep the peace, you teach yourself that your voice doesn't matter. Every time you shrink to avoid judgment, you reinforce fear as your decision maker. Confidence doesn't come from approval, it comes from alignment. When your actions match your values, external opinions lose their grip. You stop living for applause and start living with purpose. If people who stop caring what others think don't become reckless, they become intentional. They choose their standards carefully. They decide whose opinions actually matter and release the rest. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Advice from someone who isn't living the life you want is noise, not guidance. Instead of trying to be liked by everyone, focus on being respected by yourself. Respect grows when you keep promises to yourself, when you follow through, when you act even when fear is present. The need for validation fades when self-trust is strong. You don't need permission to live your life. You don't need consensus to pursue your goals, and you don't need approval to evolve. Growth will make some people uncomfortable, especially those who benefit from you staying the same. That discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to live honestly. When you stop caring what people think, you stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. You stop defending choices that feel right to you. You understand that silence can be a boundary. Peace comes from clarity, not from pleasing everyone. There will be moments when choosing yourself feels lonely. That loneliness is temporary. Regret lasts much longer. The opinions that scare you today will mean nothing in 5 years, but the chances you didn't take might. Life rewards courage, not compliance. Instead of managing perceptions, manage your focus. Put your energy into building skills, discipline, and character. These things compound, opinions fade. When you shift from external validation to internal standards, your confidence becomes unshakable. You no longer need to prove yourself because you know who you are becoming. Let people misunderstand you. Let them doubt you. Let them talk. None of it has the power to stop you unless you give it that power. The moment you choose growth over approval, everything changes. When you continue down this path, you start to notice how much lighter life feels when you're no longer carrying the weight of imagined judgment. Decisions become clearer because they're rooted in your values, not in fear of criticism. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head and start living in the moment. This mental space allows creativity, confidence, and authenticity to flourish. You realize that most of the limits you felt were never imposed by others. They were self-imposed, built from assumptions and past experiences. Letting go of those limits is uncomfortable at first because uncertainty replaces approval. But that uncertainty is where growth lives. As you stop caring what people think, you also learn the difference between feedback and noise. Feedback is specific, constructive, and aligned with your goals. Noise is vague, emotional, and often reflects the speaker's insecurities. Learning to filter the two protects your confidence. You become open to learning without being emotionally controlled. This balance is powerful. It allows you to improve without shrinking. Another shift happens in your relationships. When you're no longer performing for acceptance, the connections that remain are real. Some people will drift away because they were attached to a version of you that sought approval. Letting them go is not a loss, it's alignment. The people who respect your growth will stay. Those who don't were never meant to walk this version of the journey with you. When you stop caring what people think, your actions gain consistency. You don't change direction based on who's watching. You show up the same way, whether you're praised or ignored. This consistency builds integrity. Integrity builds self-respect. And self-respect creates confidence that doesn't fluctuate with opinion. You also become more resilient. Criticism no longer feels like an attack, it feels like information. You take what's useful and discard the rest without emotional exhaustion. This resilience frees energy that was once spent worrying and redirects it toward progress. Over time, you realize that courage isn't loud or aggressive. It's quiet and steady. It's choosing your path even when no one claps. It's trusting your vision even when it's misunderstood. This is where real strength is built. You stop needing reassurance because you've already decided who you are and where you're going. When you stop caring what people think, you don't become disconnected from others. You become connected to yourself, and that connection becomes your compass. As this mindset settles in, you begin to act from conviction instead of comparison. You stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline and start honoring your own pace. This alone removes a massive source of anxiety. You understand that everyone is fighting a battle you can't see, and their opinions are shaped by experiences that have nothing to do with your potential. When you stop internalizing those opinions, you reclaim authority over your life. You no longer need to justify your dreams to people who don't share your vision. You learn that explanation is optional, not required. Silence becomes strength when you know your direction. You also start noticing how often people project their fears onto others. When someone doubts you, discourages you, or minimizes your goals, it often says more about their limitations than yours. Recognizing this allows you to respond with clarity instead of defensiveness. You don't argue, you don't convince, you move forward. That forward motion becomes your answer. As you continue choosing authenticity over approval, your confidence deepens. It's no longer dependent on outcomes or recognition. You trust yourself to handle success and failure with equal composure. This trust creates emotional stability. You're not shaken by praise and you're not crushed by criticism. You remain grounded because your worth is no longer negotiable. You understand that life is too short to live as a diluted version of yourself. Every day you spend trying to be accepted is a day you delay becoming who you're meant to be. When you finally stop caring what people think, you don't lose people, you lose fear. And in its place, you gain clarity, courage, and a quiet confidence that speaks louder than any approval ever could.